I'm going to get right down to the beef, okay? There is something going on in the Curious George universe, and I'm not going to pretend like there isn't any longer, okay? I have been doing 2 years of extensive research, and by research, I mean reading the books to my daughter. And there is something fishy going on there. Before I get started, I just wanted to let you know that I'm never going to intentionally make something that I know might possibly offend an author. But H.A. Reyes and Margaret Reyes are dead, and they can't be offended because they're dead people. So, but also something really cool. They escaped the Nazi invasion of France on bicycles hours before it happened. And then over the next, June, July, August, September, October, the next 4 or 5 months, they traveled through Spain, Portugal, Rio, somewhere else, probably all the way to the United States and to New York to get their book published. How cool. So yeah, I have no intention of being offensive to them because they're awesome. That's so cool. They also owned monkeys for a little while where they were staying in Rio de Janeiro, which is where they got married. Funny, okay, now I'm going to get too far into this. They met in Hamburg. They were both born in Hamburg. They met when they were kids. Then they both happened to move to Rio de Janeiro, and then they fell in love in Rio de Janeiro and got married and had monkeys in Rio de Janeiro. So this is where the theory begins, okay? The man with the yellow hat, he is traveling or whatever, and he steals George straight out of the jungle. And he puts him in a bag, and they get on a boat, and he tells George, I'm going to sell you to the zoo. Well, he does not sell him to the zoo. I think he got off the boat, and he was approached by some people who were like, okay, so what you did was you stole a monkey from our, experimentational island, and we're going to need him back, and we're going to have to kill you because now you know too much. And the man with the yellow hat is like, actually, I prefer not to die. Thank you very much. How about instead, I just work for you and I'll be the monkey's caretaker. And they're like, that sounds like a deal. Here's $8 million for the rest of your life. They're set, okay? Why do I think that? Why do I think that George is an experimentational monkey from a monkey island that the government owns to experiment on monkeys for hyper-intelligent animal purposes? Well, VeggieTales taught me at a very young age, if it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey, even if it has a monkey kind of face. Here's 2 things you need to know about monkeys. Monkeys have hairy faces, and monkeys have tails. Let's think about our dear boy George. That monkey's face is hairless. He's got a very hairless face. And he's got no tail. He's also lacking other things, but it's also for children, so we won't get into that. Anyway, so he's an experimental monkey. They're trying to create hyper-intelligent animals by experimenting on them, genetically modifying them. Why are they doing this? Well, you see, I think they are doing it because they want to have hyper-intelligent animals for the purposes of some sort of Secretary of Defense, aerospace, something or another. They want the monkey to fly a plane, basically, to be able to shoot bombs at the bad guys. Okay? That's what they're training George for. Think about that the next time you read it to your kids. So they approach the man with the yellow hat and they say, so this is the deal. You have to move here. You have to live in this fake city that we created because you took George out of his jungle and we can't send him back. The man says, deal, let's do it. And so let's look at the other animals that are in this town. Huntley. Do we think Huntley might be a hyper-intelligent animal? He certainly is very clean for some reason, and he's a weird dog. Charky? Definitely not. I hate that dog. That dog is so dumb. I don't think that dog could do a single thing right. There's a gerbil. That gerbil, they strapped a camera to it, and that gerbil was able to climb up some, what's that called? The infrastructure for a building that's made out of metal. Is that just what it's called? Infrastructure? That gerbil climbed that infrastructure. Gnocchi, it's named after a pasta, and its owner is Italian, and his name is Paschetti. That is a fake name if I ever heard one, okay? All of the people in that town are plants. Everyone that George interacts with is a plant. There is that one guy who knows something fishy is going on, and he doesn't like the experiment.
George lives down the block. This town's not normal.
But he has been, honestly, I think probably threatened enough times. Like, if you back out, then we have to kill you. So he's just there trying to hint to the monkey, there's something going on weird here, but he's a monkey. So he's like, I'm just living my best life and I get to do whatever I want. They work for the Secretary of Defense. They are all there for the same purpose of experimenting on that monkey and testing what he knows and seeing his problem solving, seeing how he's going to get out of these situations that he gets himself in, okay? And some of the situations George doesn't even put himself in. Sometimes there's just something that's wrong and he has to fix it. And he's just a monkey, okay? He's like the equivalent of a 5-year-old. Why would the man with the yellow hat leave a monkey alone for who knows how long? Hours? Probably, in all of these weird situations, if he weren't trying to see what that monkey's gonna do, okay? That'd be the equivalent of me leaving my daughter at home alone. She's 2, but still, I'm not gonna leave her home alone. You know what that kid's gonna do? Get into everything, probably color on everything and ruin everything and make a mess of everything, and George does. But you know what? He doesn't get in trouble for a single thing. He breaks the law and he doesn't get in trouble, okay? And we're not thinking that's suspicious. We don't think that's weird. So the man with the yellow hat has the facade of being a museum worker, but he's definitely not, okay? He works weird hours. He gets to wear that yellow uniform and he's obsessed with that hat. Like, I don't know what the deal is with that guy. But I don't think a single museum worker is allowed to wear something like that to the museum. All the museum workers that I know of have to wear a specific uniform, and that uniform is usually just a t-shirt that is the museum's logo on the chest right there. Also, a side note, anytime he's saying, oh, I have to go look at Petri dishes with Professor Wiseman, that's what you're doing, Petri dishes, yeah. I believe that for no seconds, 0, no time at all. So what is Professor Wiseman's job? She's a scientist that works for the museum, right? Wrong. The museum doesn't exist, guys. I told you, the city is a plant. It's a fake city, okay? The museum is just there to further the experiment with George so he can learn things and use that in other ways. Another example of that, Tadpole Trouble or something like that is the name of the episode in the book that I have. I could get it, but it's in my daughter's room and she's sleeping. George and the man with the yellow hat have a country house that's like 10 minutes outside of the city. They live next to this boy named Bill. Bill and George catch tadpoles and they keep it in a bowl. Okay, George dumps the bowl back into the pond because he's like, oh, they want to swim. But then he can't catch them again. And he keeps trying to come back to find them, but the tadpoles are changing. He doesn't realize that the tadpoles are changing. He goes to the museum in the city after like their week or whatever, and there happens to be a tadpole exhibit. Tell me that's coincidence. And Bill is never upset about any of the stuff that George does. He messes up a lot of things for Bill. But Bill is always like, wow, what a smart kid you are at the end of it. And he never calls him a monkey. He calls him a city kid. Okay, isn't that weird? I think that's a little weird. That's a little bit off. Anyway, I went off on a tangent about Bill. Bill's fine. He's just a little guy that lives in the... We can't fault minors for the work they're doing for the government, okay? They don't know. They don't know the dark secrets of what they're doing. So Professor Wiseman works for the museum. No, she doesn't. The museum is a plant. She is a scientist. She, I believe, specializes in animal sciences, animal intelligence and development, whatever, okay? She also has access to rockets, airplanes, spaceships, meaning George also has access to those things. George has flown in a plane. George has flown in a spaceship rocket thing. He has access to these sorts of things as a monkey. And we're not saying that's weird. Professor Wiseman also has other colleagues who are scientists that do rockety things. They're like aerospace scientists, and they're launching rockets to Mars. Maybe that's their real intention with George in the beginning, is to see if he can make it to Mars. But, that's just tier 1. If he can make it to Mars, he can make it to Russia and launch some missiles or something. Okay, there's something darker here. So to summarize, I think I'm done with my tirade. George is an experimental monkey that was stolen from his jungle, which was really a research facility that does experiments on monkeys to create genetically modified, hyper intelligent animals of all sorts that live in this jungle. Once again, stolen by the man with the yellow hat. The man with the yellow hat was threatened and made a deal with the Secretary of Defense to become the caretaker for this animal. And so they are forced to live in this city that is really just this place built up that is a controlled setting for George to get in lots and 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 lots of legal trouble. Literally, this monkey has broken the law, and see how he reacts to those sorts of changes and what he's going to do to fix the problems that he creates. All the time, there in the books, there are things popping up just like, oh, look, there's a new candy shop. Oh, look, there's a new ice cream shop, because they're expanding the city to continue the experiment, okay? I don't know what more I need to tell you. In this city, there are controlled plants. All of the plants are privy to the experiment. They are paid also by the Secretary of Defense government situation. They are trying to get him into situations where he will cause trouble that he has to fix, or putting him in situations where there is already trouble that he has to fix, okay? This experiment is at a security level above the government. It is like a Secretary of Defense, president only kind of thing. In this town, his best friend is the man with the yellow hat, and the man with the yellow hat is getting with Professor Wiseman, who is the lead scientist in this experiment, and she has scientist buddies, and they are trying to send George to space and or teach him to shoot rockets. I think my daughter's coming. They're trying to teach George to shoot rockets at terrorists, okay? That's what I know. That's what I know, sweet girl. You want to come sit with me on the floor? Mama's taking a video. My phone is right there. Do you want to show me your orca whale? What do sperm whales eat? What's your favorite whale? The orca whales. What about the sound a beluga whales make? Do you know what the sound a beluga whale makes? Good job. Do you want to say goodbye to the camera?
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Is it fun? We should take it off, huh? Good job.